where ancient wisdom meets the healer's path. Cultural anthropologist and creator of soul medicine, Bob Vetter has spent decades studying with elders and traditional healers, bringing sacred traditions into modern healing work, guiding others toward purpose, depth, and true restoration. A voice devoted to preserving wisdom that still heals today. This is Bob Vetter.
Hello, Bob.
Hello, Celia.
How are you?
Very well. So nice to see you.
So nice to see you too. I'm glad to have you here. We've had some glitches along the day, but it's going okay. We're enjoying, we're relaxed, we feel good. So, and we're excited for you to be our next story to tell. Are you ready?
I am ready when you are.
Okay, then I will let everybody turn their ears and focus to you, Bob. And thanks for coming, guys. Here's Bob Vetter.
Well, nice to see everybody out there. I hope you're feeling calm. And I'll be here today to share some teachings, some stories, a little bit of an experiential exercise, and then answer some questions that our listeners and viewers might have. So, stories that disturb us and the stories that set us free. I'd like to begin by just inviting you to be present in this moment, to sit in your chair, have your feet flat on the floor, and just bring yourself to a state of calm that will begin our presentation. To just let the things that were occurring during the course of the day float away with each breath. To just take a couple of conscious breaths so that we can be here and be completely present. So welcome to this moment of story. And I want to talk about stories and what they mean to us, how stories are the way that we constitute meaning in our lives. Now, unfortunately, a lot of the stories that we hear today are stories that disturb us, stories that, if anything, create fear. All you have to do is turn on the television or even scroll through Facebook or whatever social media that you happen to prefer, and we find disturbing images about things that are going on in the world. And one of the things that we notice is that we are drawn towards stories that are disturbing, interestingly enough. And why is that? The reason is evolutionary. The reason is that we're predisposed toward hearing the stories of disaster and things going wrong, because in a long, long time ago, hundreds of thousands of years ago, or maybe tens of thousands of years ago, or even yesterday, our survival has often depended upon noticing something that might cause us harm. So a headline today creates what? It creates the fight or flight or freeze response in us. And we listen to the stories that we hear. So those stories are the stories on the news, as I said, or in social media. Today, we're going to look at a much more personal type of story, the stories that we tell ourselves, and how those stories can either help us or hinder us in our human experience. So what is at issue is that what happens is one thing, but we create a story around what happens. That's something that we do naturally in everyday life. So what we experience as stress, anxiety, unrest doesn't just come from what happens around us. It comes from the stories that we are living inside of ourselves. Why? Because as human beings, we are meaning-making machines. We are constantly creating meaning out of what goes on around us. We don't experience events directly, we experience our interpretation of them, and that is the story. So there's an emerging field that we call narrative medicine. Narrative medicine is the idea that story is something that can either heal us or harm us. In most cases, we experience the fallout from stories, and narrative medicine is an attempt to use story to change the meaning that we create about our lives and heal the events that may have harmed us in the past. So there's a number of ways that I utilize stories in the work that I do. One is to use a traditional story and the right story for the right moment for a client or patient who has experienced something negative as a result of what happened. So they're telling themselves a story that is on an endless loop. It's playing in the background over and over and over again. So it's like a stuck record. And these emotions get tied to, these stories get tied to emotions. And the emotion by itself, there's nothing wrong with any human emotion. But when an emotion gets stuck, that becomes the problem. And for a lot of people, it'll be the same story and the same set of emotions that literally are played over and over again over the course of years or even decades in a person's life. So, narrative medicine, the way that I look at it is that we can use it in a number of ways. We can listen to the story and we can learn about another person's story, find out where there is the problem in it, where it's stuck, and encourage them in how to create an alternative, I wouldn't say ending to the story, but let's say transition in the story. Another way to use it is to take a traditional story from a particular culture and introduce it so that different options become available. And there are tons of stories in every culture that are healing stories. The way that I like to describe it is my intuitive way of talking about the old style car that had a clutch rather than an automatic transmission. And what happens? How do you use that? You're getting ready to drive your car, and you press your foot on the clutch, and then shift into the first gear, and then feather the gas pedal with the clutch pedal. So as the gas pedal goes down, the clutch pedal comes up, and it helps us to overcome the initial inertia so that we get forward movement and we can shift into higher and higher gears. So the traditional story is like that process of overcoming inertia by introducing the story. That's like the gas pedal as you lift up on the clutch to engage that forward motion. So let me give you an example to kind of make this real. I had a client, we're going to call her Jill, who suffered from the abuse of her mother, who had what was probably an undiagnosed mental illness. Her mother was overly critical of her. Her father was completely uninvolved in her life. And over the course of time, she developed the idea that she was just wrong. She was bad. Everything that she did was unacceptable. So the story that she internalized was, if my mother, who is the one who is raising me, tells me that everything that I do is wrong, there's something wrong with me. Her mother would actually tell her that she was bad, that she was evil, that everything about her was wrong. She internalized that story, which eventually led to a variety of different addictions that she took on in order to anesthetize the pain of that story. And eventually it led to almost her suicide. She contemplated suicide and was actually about to do it, and at the last minute pulled out of it. And this pattern went on for decades and decades in her life. Now, I'm happy to say that in the work that she had done with others before and with me led to her changing that story. She eventually came to understand that this was her mother and not her. And that's what I mean by changing the story, understanding where the initial story came from, that it came out of an experience in childhood where she didn't have the resources to understand that her mother was the problem rather than her. So, what are some of the patterns that we find in these stories, in these self negating stories that we can hold on to for lifetime in some cases? One is, I'm not enough. No matter what I do, it's not enough. Another one is, something is wrong with me. Again, it couldn't possibly be that the grown-ups, these big people around me, are the ones at fault. It must be me. I'll always be alone. In cases where we sabotage the relationships, the intimate relationships, or even friendships, I'll always be alone. And what we find is a behavior that reinforces that belief. We end up with a feedback loop that I'm always going to be alone, so I unconsciously sabotage the relationships that are in my life. Life should be different. Life is unfair, so it should be something different than it is. Another one is, I'm behind. I can never possibly catch up. I'm always behind in everything that I do. So these stories are usually unconscious. We're not aware of them and how they develop. They are formed early on in our life, and they get reinforced over time, as I said, because we unconsciously do the behavior that reinforces that belief, whichever of those beliefs or any others that we might be talking about. And the thing is that in our experience after a time, it feels like reality. It doesn't feel like a story. It doesn't feel like something that I'm doing to reinforce the story. It seems like it's just the way that life is. And so now, rather than just talk about it, what I'd like to invite you to do is to have an experience of this with me. And this way you can understand how these stories come about. So, what I'm going to invite you to do is to, if you're willing to, let your eyes gently close. And just take a moment to soften your gaze if your eyes are open, or let them gently close on their own, effortlessly. And to take a slow breath in and slowly exhale it out. And again, we'll take a deep breath in and hold it and let that breath go. And now, with your eyes either closed or lightly drawn down, let your breath just naturally slow of its own accord. And now I'll invite you to bring to mind a situation in your life that might have felt stressful, or unresolved, or emotionally charged. Not something that's overwhelming or traumatic, but just something that we can focus attention on. That is stressful in a normal day-to-day way. And take a moment to notice the story. And as you think about that situation, you can start to notice some of the thoughts that go along with it. The interpretations, the meaning that your mind makes about the situation. Gently ask yourself, what story am I telling about this? And I'll pause there for a moment for you to focus that attention inside. And now imagine that this story is not inside you, but written out in front of you. You might experience it as being on a giant screen in front of you, or as though it's written out in front of you in big letters on a page. But see it clearly. And as you look at it, notice something important. You are here, and the story is there. You are here, and the story is there. The point being, you are not the story. You are the one who can see the story. And as you observe that story, you might notice, is it completely true? Or is it one way of seeing the situation? And now you might ask yourself gently, Is there another way this could be interpreted or understood? And in this moment, there is no forcing, just allowing something new to emerge. And it emerges as a new possibility appears. And notice how your body responds. Your breath, the feeling in your chest and your shoulders, how your physiology responds simply from this shift of awareness. And there's no need to replace the old story right now. Just notice that from this simple exercise, there is more space than there was, and that more than one story may be possible. And now I'll invite you to bring your awareness back to your breath. Take some breaths consciously again. Bring yourself back into the room. And as soon as you're ready, you can open your eyes. And I'll ask you to consider, what did you notice? What did you notice during that activity? Did the story feel solid? Did it feel flexible? Did it become more flexible as you worked with it? So the point of this is that our stories are constructions. It's so it reminds me of this, I think it's a Zen saying. It's either Zen or Taoist when we mistake the finger pointing at the moon, we mistake that for the moon. And what it means in this context is that the stories become so fixed in our minds that we forget that it is a construction that we make. So by externalizing the story, by taking the story out of the inside of us and putting it outside, it serves to let us know that there is a difference between the reality of life and the stories that we make. And we as human beings can create an alternative to that story, the one that may be self-defeating, the one that may constrict the way that we live our lives in the world. So, yeah, I want to just talk a little bit about some of the work that I do. And you're very welcome, Maria. I see that in the box on the side. So nice to have you here. Yeah, so in my work in well, let me describe a little bit about my work. So my work is uh, spiritual coaching and healing work. And a lot of it comes out of my experience in a form of healing called curanderismo, or the traditional healing practices that come out of Mesoamerica, what we would call Mexico and the other adjacent countries. So in curanderismo, we place a lot of emphasis on the emotions. And I always like to say that, in my earlier understanding of spirituality, I really thought of the emotions as being the enemy, that if through meditation I could simply find a steady state, that the emotions would even out and that I could get rid of them. Whereas through my studies of curanderismo and in other forms of indigenous medicine, we look at the emotions as the key to healing. And as I said before, acknowledging the fact that every single human emotion has a purpose. So, for example, the feeling of anger. Anger can be very destructive. It can be like the coals. I think there was that Buddha made some comparison saying that this inner rage that we have can be like holding on to coals that we intend to throw at somebody else, but not realizing that by holding on to it, I'm burning myself. So anger can be a reminder of the boundaries that we consciously want to create in our lives so that others don't harm us. But when we get so caught up in anger that it's stuck, or that it turns into rage, or it's something that happens over and over and over again, it becomes self-destructive. So, what we do in various practices is to find a way to take those very human emotions and make sure that they move, sure that they shift in our lives. And one of the ways of doing that is through story. There are actually lots of other ways that we do it, lots of other practices. For example, in the Temazcal, or the Mesoamerican sweat lodge, we articulate the emotions that we might be feeling. And through the heat, through the companionship of other people in there, plus the use of herbs and flowers, we're able to take those emotions and move them, give voice to them, and have others share those emotions with us. So the point is that the emotions can be the key to our healing, not necessarily just the thing that holds us back. So, how do we make sense of this short practice that we did today and the few things that I've shared with you? Well, the point is that there will always be challenges in our life. I wish I could tell you that I could wave a magic wand and make your life easier so that the stories would naturally come out as pleasant ones that say, and he or she lived happily ever after. But the reality of our life is that there are challenges and there will continue to be challenges. Suffering doesn't necessarily come directly from that experience. What it comes from is the story that we tell ourselves. When we say this shouldn't be happening, or this means something is wrong with me, we begin to see these are stories, and we're no longer trapped inside of them. So the moment that you can see this story is the moment that you are no longer bound by it. And that's the point that I would like to leave you with today. And at this point, open it up for questions in just a moment. The final words that I want to leave you with are, what story are you ready to loosen your grip on? Which story are you willing to release today? So with that, I will open it up to questions from anybody out there who's been joining us today. So Celia, I don't hear you. I'm not sure if you're muted.
Yes, I'm muted. Now I'm not.
Now I hear you.
Wait, there's something from Matthew. Anger is a hot coal held tight in hopes of throwing it at the enemy. Resentment is poison we drink so we can spit it at others. Powerful. Oh, he's reiterating what you said.
He put it even more succinctly than I possibly could. So thank you, Matthew.
That's pretty good.
I think it takes me more words to say that, but that was well said.
So let me see if there's any questions through here. Let's see. Going back up. Zara said when she went through the meditation with you, she felt like somebody was tapping on her shoulder with a question mark.
Well, of course, I'm going to say, of course, somebody was tapping you on your shoulder, Sar. Your ancestors, the spirits that surround you, the emotions that have been existing in the air. You know, I should mention about emotions too. You know, that we don't normally have a way to release the things that get stuck on us. That's why one of the things that we do in curanderismo is we do something called a barrida that's another technique that I would recommend both for SAR and everybody else, to take some herbs, dip them in water, give voice to the emotions that you're feeling, the part of the story that you want to release, and you literally brush yourself off with the herbs. And what that does is it brushes away. Barrida is actually a sweeping. So in the same way that you would use a broom to sweep away the dirt, we use these herbs to sweep away the dust of the emotions that get stuck on us. See that, Sar? I'm looking at, I thought I was hallucinating, Bob, but no kidding. I felt something released. Absolutely, I agree. That's exactly what you can do to release it.
And Matthew sends this message to you.
Strongly validates this high quality teaching and guidance. Oh, thank you. Thank you, Matthew.
Yes.
Wonderful.
So anyway, that was very well received, Bob. I really needed that session.
So why is that, Celia?
Just because I've been doing this summit since whatever. We've been like 6 a.m. this morning. We've been
let's play it
out for glitches.
Yeah, let's play it out for a moment. So
okay.
How long has it taken you to put this entire summit together?
My life. Like when did we start putting it together?
No, I mean for this particular year. You know, I know that this is the fourth year or something?
Yeah, fourth year. It usually takes, I mean, once we dive into deep summit mode, it takes a good 3 months and then 2 months of more intense work leading up to the summit itself.
So in the 2 months that it's taken leading up to it, I'm going to guess, I mean, I haven't spoken to you about this, but I'm going to guess I did a summit. So, you know, I kind of know what goes into it, that there's the gradual, there's the gradual introduction into your life of all of the things that you're going to have to do. And that's, you know, starting maybe a month or a couple of months ahead of time. And then it ramps up as you're getting closer and closer. And that last week is a huge amount of effort. Am I right?
Absolutely, 100%.
So what would be an example of something that you might tell yourself during that week? Like you wake up in the morning, and what's an example of something that you might say to yourself in your own internal dialogue?
Well, some things that I'll say to myself is that you're doing it wrong, you're not doing it right, you're not reaching, and Matthew has guided me, because now he's like on our team, as you know, and he has directed me. And I feel like my will to want to get this out to so many people, and I feel like I'm failing people if I don't get them to know about it. But then, because I am so aware of control and what we have control over, and I teach on it and guide on it and coach on it, I do really categorize what I have control over and what I don't. Not that it doesn't mean it doesn't upset me, but I do try to pull it into perspective and be like, well, I can only do what I can do, whatever I have control over, and what stems from that, you know,
So
I
that would
don't
be
have control.
an example of a concrete technique that you can use to kind of go around that other voice. So where do you suppose that voice would come from that tells you that you're doing it wrong?
Dad.
Okay. So
Being as you know him,
yes, very
but
well.
you weren't raised by him.
No, but
But
I'm using this as an example
yes,
because
well, it does. It comes from, when I look back, there's like, I remember I remember when I was older, I was in college, and I did a brochure for Dad for something. And, he looks at it and he goes, "Well, this is okay, but look what this guy did at work." So he shows me this brochure and it was literally horrible. It was horrible. Graphically, everything about it was terrible. And he was like, "See, this is like what I'm looking for." And I'm like, "Well, so I gave you a good looking brochure and you want an icky brochure." So then, we went around and I tried to make it ickier. And then he's like, "No, it wasn't icky enough." And then I tried to make it ickier. And then I gave him like the third example of what I worked on. And what did Dad say? "I think I like the first one." And it's like those kind of things imprint in my mind, like
yeah,
nothing was good enough.
yeah.
Nothing, no matter how hard you try, it wasn't good enough. Kind of
So
like how Dad grew up. I mean, say
yeah.
he grew up the same way.
So the what we're talking about with the story is to take the story that might have had a life inside of you and project it to the outside so that it no longer exists in the interior of your being. You've projected it outside. So you might see it as an image, a moving image that's on a visual screen, like you got a big drive-in theater screen where you're seeing either the images themselves or the words that go along with it. The words could be something like, "That guy did it better." Why can't it be more like that? And the point is, by moving it to the outside, it takes this internalized idea and externalizes it. So how would you like that story to live for you now?
That I would like it to live that no one else can do it better, because no one has my perspective and my viewpoint of what I want for the event, the
That's
thing, whatever
beautiful.
it is.
That's beautiful.
Because
And
that is something I do, is like, "Oh, that guy's gonna do it better." Like, you hit it on the nose.
well, and here you are doing it better right now, doing it as this beautiful event to change the lives of others. So what I would say is now take that story on. So if you're able to create an event like this that can literally change the lives of other people, what are the emotions that go along with that story?
Uh, my, my commitment, my drive, my compassion, and I guess the things as an emotion, I it's there's actually joy because
Yeah.
it makes me happy to do this. It's not work, it's joy.
And I can see the difference in your face. Seriously. When you had the other story, you know, I can visually see the difference in your face and how it reflects the emotions that you've talked about, the joy. So I want to encourage you to install that feeling of joy on the inside as now the new story. The new story is your ability to effectively change the lives of others for the better. So, congratulations on year 4 of the Day of Calm.
Thank you, Bob. Thank you for that. It's really, truly helpful.
I'm proud of you.
Thank you, Bob. Thank you. You make me cry. Thank you.
Well, good. Let's have that on screen too.
Okay. Not that I've never done that before.
Good. And it's a fun cry.
It is a fun cry. It is. I have to blow my nose, which I've done like 6 times on screen now. Oh,
All
man.
right.
Thank you,
Good.
Bob. This was so great. Really, really great.
Well, it
And,
is absolutely my pleasure, I think for the 4th time to be here for the Day of Calm. And I just love what you're doing. I love everything about it, and wish everybody out there to, to take in everything that all of these amazing presenters have to share today. So, and not just today, it's today, tomorrow, and Sunday.
Sunday and Monday.
And Monday.
Sunday
Oh my goodness.
Sunday are 3 recordings because it's Easter Sunday.
Okay.
And, so Monday we go back to live streams. And then we end Monday evening.
Excellent. Well, speaking of stories, think about what the Easter season means. It comes along with springtime and with the renewal of life, and that's a great story for us to internalize as well.
Yeah, I thought the same thing. I thought what a wonderful way to honor Easter, honor Passover, you know, with this Day of Calm. It's, it's one of the
Absolutely.
best ways to honor renewal and escape and all those things that we're honoring.
So let me ask you one more
Thank you, Maria.
question. I have one more question for you, Celia.
Okay.
So you put all of this work into it and you have the joy that goes along with it. How will you celebrate when it's over?
I'm going to Disney World. No, I'm just kidding. Okay. Sorry. That was just the first thing I thought of.
I believed you.
Lauren's on her way to Hawaii. That's my daughter.
But seriously, will you give yourself a way to celebrate after it's over?
Yes, I will. I plan on celebrating definitely Tuesday, taking the day off, and Monday night I plan on going out for a nice dinner with my hubby and celebrating because it's definitely a mission of love, and it takes a lot out of you, but I'm grateful for every moment. I'm grateful for this is where I've led. I'm grateful that, you do it with me, you, Maddie, Czar, and now Matthew and his team. Like it's just becoming this incredible vision that I had at the beginning. It's turning into a reality, and I'm truly blessed.
Well, please remember that your celebration is part of the new story. Right?
I will. Absolutely.
Because the story is you've created this beautiful thing. You put all that effort into it, and afterwards you deserve to enjoy yourself.
So true. Sorry you guys aren't here to celebrate with me.
I know. We are too, but we'll celebrate with you in spirit.
There you go. Thank you. Thank you, Bob.
You're very welcome, Celia, and thank you for holding the event and having me here once again. Oh,
You're the
can
best.
I do a plug if people want to get a
Oh
hold
yeah,
of me?
plug away.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
Plug
yeah,
away.
so my website is www.bobvetter.com. You see the spelling of it here, bobvetter.com. And on my website, there are a bunch of podcasts on different aspects of the healing journey. I've got lots of interviews with different people. There are resources there for some of you who might be interested in becoming healers or wisdom keepers. So I encourage you to come and visit, if nothing else, for the freebies that we have on my website. So
Love it.
So nice to meet all of you. And Celia, thanks again.
Thank you, Bob.